Villains. The reason our heroes go out there and fight. The ones who cause chaos and sometimes our favorite part of the story. Hello everyone and welcome to my secret base. My name is Edster and today I'll go over part 2 of the most loved villains. But before we get started, please remember to like, subscribe, and turn on those notifications. Alright, let's get started. First, we have one of the most iconic and divisive villains in anime, Light Yagami from Death Note. Light is quite divisive because he's the protagonist of the story and his cause is really not a bad one, but it just spirals into an egocentric crime spree. Light in the beginning of the show acquires a notebook called the Death Note, which allows him to kill anyone whose name he writes in it, hence the name Death Note. Accompanied by a death god or Shinigami, who is also the one who dropped the notebook out of pure boredom, he decides to make the world a better place by killing all criminals. Yay! This goes as well as you think, and he ends up becoming a god to some and a criminal to others, especially the task force led by the world's greatest detective, L, which Light infiltrates as his dad is part of the task force. In the course of the story, Light kills millions, causes the death of his father, almost kills his whole family to protect his identity, kills L, and even gets a Shinigami killed. He finally falls due to the actions of L's successors and dies at the hands of his own Shinigami. Now onto Venom, one of Spider-Man's biggest foes and one that is not to be messed with. The symbiote first appeared during the events of Secret Wars as Spider-Man's beautiful black suit. He later attached himself to Eddie Brock, and that is when the symbiote finally became Venom. From here on, he would terrorize Spider-Man for a long time. However, as time went by, and with the help of his ever-growing popularity, Venom will become more of a rival to Spidey, and later more of an anti-hero, even helping take out his more violent and sadistic sibling, Carnage. He will later come full circle when Venom pairs with Flash Thompson to become Agent Venom. While mostly depicted as a villain, Venom is undoubtedly a fan favorite, and in the movie Venom, he was portrayed as a hero, and from the looks of it, that's not going to stop anytime soon. Next, we have Catwoman, who depending on who you ask, could be considered a hero as well, but with her criminal history and the way the character is written, she definitely fits the criteria of a villain. She is one of the foes that can actually match Batman both physically and mentally. It also helps that she's probably one of the only people that understands what Batman and Bruce Wayne's mindsets are at all times. One of the best character traits is that Selina Kyle is not all bad, and often her crimes have justifications as often as they are selfish. She is also honestly Batman's only true love. Now on to Agent Smith. Agent Smith is one of the most popular movie villains from the early 2000s and the antagonist of the Matrix movies. Smith began as an agent AI programmed to keep the Matrix intact by eliminating any threats to the simulation, such as those that disconnect from it. He has superhuman abilities, and after the first film, he has the ability to copy himself into other members of the Matrix, going as far as taking over the entire Matrix in the third film. In the first film, we saw Neo think that he actually deleted Smith, but in actuality, all he did was unplug him from the simulation, which also allowed him to gain even more power than he ever had before. Smith was such a big hit as a bad guy, and his iconic battles with Neo became some of the most iconic fights from that era, which is great because this film series essentially influenced all of cinema in the 2000s. Lastly, we have none other than the man himself, Darth Vader. Darth Vader is one of the most iconic characters from the Star Wars franchise. What am I saying? Darth Vader is one of the most iconic characters ever. One of the main antagonists of the original trilogy, Vader had this aura of coolness and evil that just couldn't get replicated no matter how hard They tried. The father of Luke and Leia, Vader started his journey in the horrible prequels as Anakin Skywalker, an orphan that was taken in by Obi-Wan to train as a Jedi, and was later coerced into joining the dark side by Emperor Palpatine before the infamous Order 66, which saw all the Jedis wiped out of existence when Palpatine said, "Do it!" In the original trilogy, we saw him fight off the rebels as they try to take down the evil empire. Eventually, he does turn back into the light side, with his last act being helping his son Luke defeat the Emperor before passing away and becoming one with the Force. Most recently, we saw Vader as one of the voices guiding Rey at the end of Rise of Skywalker in her fight against Palpatine. This man just doesn't go away. And before that, fooling us into watching Rogue One. Well, that is all for this week. What other villains will you want to see featured? Who's your favorite villain? Let me know in the comments below. Also, take a look at my other videos in the screen right now. And lastly, you can find the link to part 1 of the video in the description below. And like me on Facebook. See ya!